Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Perthshire War Room. And we're going to discuss today a D-Day wargame using rapid-fire reloaded rules with the new amphibious landing rules. And the scenario is broadly taken from the rapid-fire D-Day guide. And this is the Sword Beach, Queen Red sector. Okay, so as I said, today we're looking at the start of a D-Day scenario from the rapid-fire D-Day campaign guidebook. This book's been around for a long time now. I'll hold it right up to the camera for you there so you can see it. And it contains lots of really good information about all of the actions from D-Day. What I'm doing here is the Sword Beach scenario. That's the sort of the landing guide for the fleet as it assembles, and that's their broad guide for the beach. I have to say, researching the history of Sword Beach, there's not as much detail out there as you might hope, but I know there's a guy at the moment who's written a lot of history on British coastal forces and coastal war, the war in the North Sea, and he's doing a book on Sword Beach at the moment, so I'm hoping that when that comes out with more detail, maybe it gets a bit more accurate. I'm using the rapid-fire reloaded rules for this scenario, and actually with the rapid-fire reloaded extra supplement, which you can get off the Rapid Fire Wargames website, where there'll be a link for that below this video when you come to view it. But it has included updated rules for fighting amphibious operations. And what we've got here, if we take a look around, you'll see you've got the landing fleet, you've got the beach or the beach defences, and then tucked in the buildings there are strong points and the sort of the garrison fortress battalion for the Atlantic Wall, as the Germans refer to it. So we're going to take a little look at some of those bits and pieces in detail and give you a feel for the sorts of bits of kit that we put together for this war game. And the next video after this one will then look at the first moves playing out on the tabletop. But let's take a look at some of the detailed figures. That's a really interesting bit of the battlefield tour. So the first feature to look at here is sort of the observation post, which is that sort of tower building in the sort of the back centre of that little strong point. And then that strong point, WN18, is meant to represent the sort of casino stronghold at the Ouistreham end of the beach. In the film The Longest Day, there is a casino representation in that film, and I have a building for that, but they put it up inside the docks. It didn't exist up there. And in fact, that's another point, there were no nuns at Ouistreham either, as you'll have seen in The Longest Day. But it's a great building, and I do sometimes use it in battles. But for this one, I keep it a little bit more authentic. So we've just got the observation post there, and then the very strong points around it, which include the sort of the guns, the other bits and pieces that go with it. So just to talk you through that in a bit more detail, we've got the observation control team here, the command centre for the whole beach and all of its defences. And then in these strong points here, we've got a weapon to strafe down the beach. There's another it's actually a 50mm gun there, an anti-aircraft weapon there, but these will be used again to defend against the beach. We've got an anti-tank ditch here filled with wire, and then there's a line of barbed wire all the way down the beach. Then the sort of the metal structures, and then these posts for destroying, for tipping over the landing craft as they landed. So this is the first part of the beach defence, and this controls the beach defences for the Germans, so it's a really critical piece of kit for them. Then just behind that strong point you can see the buildings of Ouistreham town. Now again, the way you're looking to the left of that would be the entrance to the docks, the entrance to the canal, and further left from that, the entrance to the river. The canal that eventually, of course, runs up to what we now refer to as Pegasus Bridge, the Caen Canal crossing at Benouville, which was later named as Pegasus Bridge, the tipping ramp. And so one of the ships that will land here in the front part of the beach over here will be aiming to send commandos that can run up to quickly relieve the troops that arrive by glider to take that bridge. So that's Ouistreham, the town, at one end of the beach. And then from Ouistreham, I've put in a series of buildings just to represent small settlements that ran along the beach there. I'll probably amend that in later battles once I get more detail about the real layout on the day, but for a visual representation, for a wargame purpose, they'll work okay from a visual point of view. They run along the length of the beach, until we come to this little setup here, which is the strong point WN20, and this contains the kit for really stopping things at the other end of the beach, so the sort of the counterpoint to the unit we saw at the start with the observation post. So just to run through this point, there's a fortified building here. It was actually a couple of villas on the day that had been fortified and disguised to hide what was going on with the defence point. You've got an anti-tank weapon here, again pointing down the beach like that. One of these Tobruk towers with a machine gun in it. In here there's some weaponry, and then round the back there are ditches with infantry and other weapons, machine guns, etc. in them. So this is another important strong point, another anti-tank ditch at the front here. So these two strong points control fire right along the beach, and obviously in these buildings along the way there are other weapons concealed, anti-tank weapons, machine guns, etc. So it's a pretty tough nut to crack, this one, and the British forces landing will face a lot of fire as they hit the final approach into the beach. So the first thing we'd look at is one of these really big tank landing craft, and this contains elements of 79th Armoured Division, an armoured division that was known as the Funnies to the British because it had a really weird and interesting kit on it, all designed to help them get through this really impregnable looking set of defences on the beach. So I'll just pull this out. We'll take a look at some of these, sorry, wrong way. Take a look at some of these elements in detail so that we can see what they look like. So right at the front of these would have been these little guys. It's a Sherman tank with a flail device in the front, and its job was to spin round and make the mines explode as they were going up the beach to clear a safe path for armour and infantry to get up the beach. So that's the first item. The second thing we've got here is a Churchill AVRE, an armoured vehicle of the Royal Engineers, and it's got a fascine on it, and that's for dropping into ditches like tank traps to make it easier for the tanks to then go across them. It also has on its turret a petard mortar known as a flying dustbin, and that was used to fire at concrete emplacements to break them open and to breach them. So again, a very important bit of specialised kit. To come up the rear of this lot is an armoured dozer, and the dozer's job is really just to push away rubble and things that get in the way, other destroyed items, any vehicles that get damaged on the beach, just to push them out of the way of the troops to make it easier for them to make progress. And then this rather lovely, nifty bit of kit, which is the Churchill's small box girder bridge, which you can lay from this setup here, and very useful in getting over the seawall or other obstacles that might be in the way, so they can get armour up and taking part in the battleground behind the landing. So this type of landing craft, and obviously this is a wargame representation. In real life, there was many more than just one or two of these, and they had a formation. The flail tanks would actually go up the beach in a sort of a series, I think of about 5 in an arc, to clear a wide path for the other stuff coming up. But in wargame representation, we're tending to use one vehicle to represent about 5 vehicles, so there's a few less of those when you do it as a wargame. Next thing to talk about is the Sherman DD tank. It's called DD because it was duplex drive. That meant it could use its tracks on the land, but it could use propeller action at sea, and it had this canvas frame that was erected, so it would be launched quite near to the shore, very near to the shore in fact, and then just make its way, so there was armoured support at the minute those infantry and tanks got ashore. And interestingly enough, I'm just going to dig out from my collection. Once they get ashore, they'll end up looking like this. They'll drop the canvas screen, and then they can just motor around on the beach, pretty much like and you'll see photographs and film of tanks like this a day or two after D-Day, because they're still around. They've still got the canvas screen on. They've been busy in action, so they haven't dropped the canvas screen as yet. They haven't got rid of it. Then next up, we've got what's bringing the infantry ashore. So we've got here. Well, this is a kind of a headquarters setup on here. So we've got the vehicles and the weaponry of the headquarters company of a battalion, and then there's one of the companies of the battalion there. There's the battalion there with its two company battalion there in wargame scale with its troops ready to disgorge, and that would be repeated up the beach. At this scale, with this type of action, we've got this a couple of times. So we've got a couple of battalions landing. Obviously, on the day, there's a lot more involved. Then finally, in this section, I just thought I'd pick out this craft, which is a It's for landing Royal Marine Commandos. It's got these ramps that go down at the front for the troopers to run down, and they're on board there. And alongside it is a landing craft carrying a close support tank for the Royal Marines, the Commandos, when they get ashore. A Centaur tank in this case. Also Shermans were used as close support tanks. So